Okay. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, we can start now, basically. This one's actually going to be a slightly different format in the way I'm going to be doing this because this is just an extension, a bonus part 3 of what we did in 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's not going to go too in depth on like the exact like maybe how you should play it or anything like that, but it's just to kind of explore how this platform, how to use it. Yeah. And I think for the most part, what you just asked, like how do you get the flop on here? First, it always starts with a pre-flop.
Yeah.
Right, but actually before we even go here, just make sure you always change the settings so that you know like what you're playing, if you're playing a tournament or cash, and if it's a heads-up situation or like a chip EV situation or an ICM situation. I'm studying mostly like MTT, like chip EV or ICM situations, for example. So let's like try this, let's say 80 big blinds for like a common, you know, like common amount, or maybe 20 big blinds I can still do, right? Then you have to go through the entire pre-flop before you can get to the flop, right? It'll go in chronological order.
Oh, okay,
how you do it, yeah. So
I
like
used to use the poker version, so it was like a little different.
Yeah. So GTO Wizard, they structure it this way. Right now, it's probably the industry leading platform. So it's definitely like the most intelligent, I would say. But yeah, you can use the other ones as well. But anyway, let's try like just as an example, under the gun, raise. Then if you wanted to fold, you don't have to click fold on all of them. You can just like go all the way to like fold here, and it'll just auto fold everything here. And then let's say big blind calls, then the flop, then you select the flop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like the flop here, you would say, I don't know, let's say it was like kings of spades, 9 of hearts, and 5 of clubs, right? And then it'll go big blind's first to act, then what does big blind do? Big blind will probably check its entire range type of thing. Under the gun, because you know ace or king, or maybe any of the high cards usually will bet, so maybe you want to range bet a small amount, right? Big blind, if they had anything, they call, etc., and then you like apply the turn, and then you can apply different things accordingly.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Yeah, so that's how you would do it. But before we go more into depth, there's a few other things that you can see first. You actually have some other options. There's this ability for you to practice, and then it's a GTO trainer, and then there's like some drills, all these other things that you can use. I've actually never used these personally. I've only used the GTO trainer. I actually had another like GTO Wizard on another account, so that's why it's like so little history. And then I was like testing out because I think they just recently added in like or at least the post flop play. I'm not sure because like the post flop play, I think they had it, but I just never used it. I just practiced pre flop. So you could, if you're on this, you could just like click here, type in what kind of solutions you want to go, and then like you want to play just pre flop or start at the pre flop or start flop. Let's try pre flop. Let's try any position, any pre flop action. You know, any situation, right? And then we can start training. So it'll just start to run the simulation, and it'll pretend like, hey, we're in the small blind with 5-3 suited, right? Let's do that for now. There's a raise under the gun to 10 big blinds, and right, yeah, a jam actually, jam under the gun 10 big blinds. Then button calls that, and then you know we have 0.5 in, 9.5 still, and I think we fold this. Fold is correct, right? It says this is the best move, it shows its hand and stuff like that. And then if you want to look into it, why that is, then you can click info here. This is the history tabs, Then info will tell you why, like in this position, or at least like what your range looks like in this position with 10 big blinds. So obviously 5-3 suited here, it's a fold, and it tells you that pretty much 7s plus, all the way to aces, ace king, ace queen off, kings, ace, all of these you would call with. Everything else you fold. But maybe some of you were not here for the previous classes, but of course this kind of adapts and changes based on who you're playing against, right? Because this is also, this range here is assuming you are playing against other players that are also playing perfect GTO and things like that, right? So it assumes that, but when you are playing against imperfect humans, then you might consider, for example, if the whole entire table is very, very, very tight, then you might open up your range a little bit, right? Play up till like ace 8 suited, open up till, ace.
Is there an option on this to make it like 10% tighter, 10% looser?
Good question. I didn't find one, but maybe there exists this option. If GTO Wizard you're listening, then definitely add that in, but I didn't find one.
Probably show up on my phone when I get home.
Yeah, give it a try. But no, like I think this is just kind of like a baseline based on like their database and all of the millions of simulations they've ran, and they determined this is like the the standard range for this configuration. But yeah, so you should be calling her 6.6% of the time, which is, or 6.6 combos of your range here. Let's go on to the next one and see what else we can do. Oh, oops. Okay, you guys already saw that one, so apparently we're supposed to fold this one. Okay. Let's go to the next one. What do you think we do here? What do you guys think?
Fold.
Fold? Okay, let's try it. Fold. Okay, yeah. So why I also set this to pre-flop first is because pre-flop is the most played position for everybody, right? And I think one of the tips we talked about was, or pieces of advice we talked about is, if you master your pre-flop, generally speaking, you are going to know how to better play all the other streets later, because you will set yourself up for more success, right? You will play better ranges, or like, ranges that give you more plus EV, and then you will also set yourself up to be in better positions to better play those types of hand selections in future streets. Another reason is because I think most people get this type of thing wrong. They get the pre-flop wrong, and so their mistakes start to compound on later streets, right? Because once you get to the turn and the river, that is when your mistakes start to really expand. And in order to mitigate that, you have to study better pre-flop and maybe some flop, right? These are the most common. So yeah, let's continue. And then before actually we continue, I did do some look into it a little bit more to see what else does it do. But basically, I started these 6 sessions post-flop and see what I could do. This one I made the right call on each one of them, but then I reversed it back to pre-flop and then tried a different line of strategy, and it came up with a different hand entirely. I thought it was going to play the same hand, but it actually came up with a different hand. So that means if the action changes, the simulator could also change it and randomize a new different hand at play. So keep that stuff in mind. Okay.
Like the opponent's hand?
The opponent's hand, yes, exactly. Yeah. So in this one, for example, the flop was ace 7 deuce king, right? But the turn was also a heart. But basically, I played it correctly the first time around, but it started on the flop, and I ended up folding to a turn right, a continuation bet basically, and they ended up showing 10-6 of hearts, right? So in the next version of this one, they showed king 9 suited or something.
So it'll just be like a random hand within the range. Right?
Every time you replay it, it will select a new hand, so you have to play accordingly with new information. Okay, so let's try again. What do you guys? This one looks nice. What do you guys think we should do here? Anyone? So small, big. We're in the small line. Under the gun raises to 2.2, right?
Just call. Raise.
You want to raise?
Raise.
Okay.
2 to 1.
2 to 1. Okay, we get raise here. Raise to what? This one? Yeah. raise. Let's see what happens. Folds, all in, fold. Do we call or fold?
Fold.
Fold. Okay, so it says wrong. They have kings. They happen to have kings. So then when we make a mistake, then now we can click this. I'm happy we're making mistakes actually because this is more important. We click this and then it can tell us why that is, right? And it basically gives you like if you want to fold this 100% of the time because it's 0 EV to do that, and by raising or even calling, you get minus 0.15 EV here, and then by raising you lose to minus 0.24. All in is 0.79, almost 0.8. And we can now see why that is.
That's EV per big blinds, right?
EV, just for this configuration for the big blinds,
minus
yes.
0.24
For the big blinds, yeah.
So,
So we have here, if you look at EV here. So when you look at EV for these range charts, this is just telling you the general EV in this spot for these particular hands. But as you can see, the strategy here is Queen Jack off is folding. The only time you're considering Queen Jack off as a raise, or I guess you're just jamming it here when you have Queen Jack suited. You would pretty much never raise here. You're just going all in if you're considering playing this hand out of position. And this is only so let's see. So this is why you can see why. And again, right, like if you feel like this under the gun player is just like raising on a very, very high VPIP, then you can consider like raising and like this size. I think it could be like plus EV in those types of spots because it'll get them to fold all their trash, right? And then whenever they have a hand like kings, then they'll probably want to just jam it all in, or they might just flat here since they're in position of you, and then you're gonna have to play post flop, right? But it's really troublesome if they call and then cut off calls as well, and you're out of position here. So this is probably why it's saying like Queen Jack off is probably not a strong enough hand.
is there a way to adjust each of the spots, like how deep they are?
Oh, so yes, you can. You have to go to the configurations, and you can like practice on like the hero can practice on a specific position. I just set it onto any.
Yeah, like for example, like I think it will just randomize so that the average is like around like a certain range and how many big blinds they have. Like, can you make it so that they have like specifically 15? One guy has like 5.
Let's see here. So any could be any of these actually.
So just random.
Yeah, it's completely random. But yes, like you can definitely select it. I selected any, and I know some of these hands we were practicing at like 10, 15, stuff like that. So here, this one's a 13 big blind one, right? So you're just practicing all these different scenarios. Oh, oops. Okay, well, this one's already shown at this point. But I'd recommend when you do this type of training, just to like play some sims, you shouldn't have this open, and you should constantly like keep opening and closing this so you don't know the solution to it. And try to play it out yourself first. Obviously it told us to fold here, so 8-7 off on the big blind, we fold. Okay. So let's actually deliberately make a mistake here. Under the gun +1, I'm pretty sure this is also a fold. Me.
Just click all in. See what happens.
Okay, let's you know what? Let's try call because I want to see if this goes to post flop here. Okay, we go to post flop and then it continues to bet here. What do we do? I guess we just fold here, right? But let's say we decide to raise. Okay, and then folding. Okay, so even though like this guy ends up folding, like in the sim, it's still considering our moves a blunder. Because again, we are making minus EV plays here. By calling with 94 offsuit, it is a minus EV play. If we went all in, we'd be losing huge, like minus 6.68 EV here. So fold is the best play. And then we can click here to see how the action continues, right? Folds. They decide to bet. Oh, we don't see their EV actually. Is there a way to see it? Under the gun here. Okay, no. Under the gun here. So under the gun on this board, it's saying like they should be betting with not king 9 suited. If you open this up, this is us. We are on the button, and this is the under the gun player. So what does it have here? King 9 suited. It is minus EV to raise. It should be folded at this point, I guess. So again, and by the way, I don't know this to the T either. I'm literally studying and learning as we go here. But I wonder why that is. Does anyone have any guesses? I think most players, if they got into the spot under the gun with king 9, and then the board comes ace, jack, 6, most people are c-betting, at least like on the flop, right? But it's saying with king 9, we shouldn't be doing that. And then ace x, let's take ace 9 suited for example. It is totally...
It's not c-betting because it called the raise, right?
No, under the gun, it was the one that
So we clicked raise, no?
No. In this, on the pre-flop, he raised and we just called on the button. Yeah, and so they continue to c-bet. Yeah, let's see equity. Okay, let's look at range here. Yeah, this is the range of hands we could have, and it's basically saying to just like check essentially with king 9.
Yeah, because they would have used the buttons range for what calls. Yeah. And the buttons range would have more of the
exactly. And then obviously button, it should never have like 9-4 offsuit like at any point in the spot, right? So this is like this is what's called completely out of line. Yeah, but let's say it continues to raise. Like what should we be calling with on the button here? And it should be a mix of all of these hands. If we had king 9 suited, we should be folding in this spot, essentially. Now let's see if it changes if we had the hearts or the spades or something like that for like a backdoor flush draw, let's say, right? Do we continue there? And it basically says, no, we should be folding 99% of the time here with diamond variant, clubs 100% of the time, and then there's like a weird point something percent if we had any of the potential backdoor backdoor flush draws. We have the most equity to potentially continue if we had king 9 of spades, because obviously the ace of spades is on there. So if we did continue, we would, and there's like a spade on the turn, then we have more equity to potentially make nut flush. That's why there might be like these small like nuances when you look at what hand combination you could have as king 9 suited. But still, it's like 99% you're just folding here because you really aren't beating much, right? Like what are you really trying to hit here? So it just folds king 9 99% of the time. If we simplify, then we just do this 100% of the time. So any questions about this one? Okay, let's see, and then we continue here. We decide to raise. This is so crazy. We decided to do this, but we should be folding, and then yeah, it just basically says. So it doesn't really, if you look here, it doesn't really tell us like too much on like where we blunder here, flop, turn, or river, because the blunder started on the pre-flop, right? And this is what I mean when I say if we blundered here on the pre-flop, then in the long run, especially when our the villain has value, we are just losing so much EV. Like we lose so much EV doing any of these plays, and then obviously we're just punting money as the.
So if we went back to the thing here, let's say like this had a quick raise, then the under the gun's hand would change, right?
If we replayed it.
Yeah.
If you want to replay it? Did you want to replay it?
How do you do that?
Okay. I mean, we can, oh, oops.
Also your hand changes.
Yeah, I guess it just didn't allow me to replay that one. Let me see best hand, worst hand. Oh, okay. I guess it didn't let me replay that one for some reason.
It's okay.
Okay, that's okay. That's
No.
good. Okay, this one we don't raise. I'm gonna close this so you guys can't, and then we'll run a few of them here. So you guys are gonna tell me what you want to do. What do you want to do here? Anyone?
Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Okay, cool. We're doing okay so far. Okay, this one's a more interesting one, I think. What would you guys do here? Remember to keep in mind of the stack sizes. This is 80 big blind. Everyone says fold. Okay, fold. Yeah, that seems to be the best move. Under the gun, 8 ways with 80 big blinds. I actually know a lot of people at our current like stake level, like when they're playing 100, you know, this tournament even today. Some people are raising this under the gun with 80 big blinds. That or like A7 suited, let's say.
A7 suited is raised.
Yeah, A7 suited is raised, but then when they look at A6, it's like so close, but it's offsuit. People like say, oh, it's like close enough. So I've seen people raise here with this hand under the gun. So something to think about when you're crafting your range. Okay, Queen 10 off. Oh, I've seen people raise this one too under the gun.
Still fold.
Okay, let's see. Fold. Okay, still the best move. So like again, right now, just again keep in mind that like if by chance everyone on this table is like complete, like really tight OMC and very very net, I think there is an argument to be made though, where like you can fully exploit them by playing it as a raise, and I think it is close enough. It's like about a pip or two, like opening up your range, and I think that's fine. You can like probably open it up when you notice table dynamics to be that way, and I think like don't take that as like gospel or advice or anything like that. I'm not a good player by any means, like good enough to understand like if you want to you know, play based on GTO and its ranges, like, and stick closely to that, then just stick based on these ranges. But from my experience, I think like we are always playing with players that don't understand these ranges to the T, and they're gonna make mistakes. So that means you can adjust accordingly to them. So my preference would actually be to open up the pip a little bit accordingly to the table I'm playing at, and I may raise this at like, you know, at 20%, 25% frequency, let's say. So this is how you can train for this. Learn. This is how one of the classes we did earlier in the last 2 weeks was talking about it precisely this, where when you start to range construct, the only way you can properly exploit is when you know what the range is supposed to be at this position, right?
Is this the thing that gives you a rating after you do it for a while?
Which one?
This gives you a rating or something?
No, this is just like a trainer, but it will tell you like how many like hands you got right and how many hands you got wrong, stuff like that. But aside from this, you actually have this play option over here. And I'll go to that right now actually. I don't play this, but there are people who play competitive, and you can basically play heads up and try to win somebody's stack, and then you can like rank up.
Oh, this is... Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we can like play, I guess we can try this out if you guys want. Non-rated heads up matchmaking. Let's try this. Okay, I think competitive is the only way you can increase your elo up. So we're looking for an opponent. Okay, we're 1500 elo right now. So or MRR. Matchmaking rating, basically. And these are actual players, I guess.
It's gonna look for a minute, an opponent for like 6 minutes. Estimated time. 6
Yeah,
minutes.
it could. Yeah, so that's. I think maybe it's a newer feature. There's not as many players on this right now, or maybe a lot of people are playing competitive and not playing. Maybe if we try here, let's try competitive. Maybe we'll find some because I imagine everyone's just playing competitive. Oh, there we go. 5 seconds. Everyone's literally playing competitive. All right. So we have this guy. He has a win rate of 53. What do we do here, guys? We're playing against an opponent. It's ranked right now. You guys are affecting my MMR. What do we do here?
Still call on the button.
Okay. You want to try calling? Okay, let's call. See what happens. If only this guy knew we were playing.
Oh,
Okay.
That's why you don't call.
See, we can't continue because like it's just not strong enough hand.
Some people almost like call everything at least when they're on the clock.
So this is where you have to you can adjust accordingly,
Yeah.
right? Okay, let's try calling here. Okay, and then we're out of position. So what do? We check calling our entire range. This is a weird spot. He range bets because he's betting really small here, and we don't really have any flush draws. We don't like have any backdoor straight draws or any pairs or anything like that. There's really nothing here for us, so I guess we just fold, right? 6-5. Do we want to take the aggressive route?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try. I don't care if I win or lose, by the way. This is just purely for us to experiment right now. Okay, he calls. So we should probably range bet a whole lot, yeah.
Third.
Third. Okay, he calls. And then 9 is probably better for his range. If he chooses to check, he could be maybe chasing a flush draw. I don't know if he's slow playing 7s here. He might have a king. I don't really know, so I guess I think we check most things. I think. Okay. Let's see what he does. He half bet. What do you guys want to do?
Call.
You want to call?
Queen high. What is he gonna have?
Oh. He ends up having king here. So okay, king deuce. Okay, so now we get to at least learn. Okay, he's calling with like king deuce when we raise him. In position, right? So I don't
Does
know.
the blind go up?
The blinds are going up. Yes, exactly. Okay, I guess we can only min click it now since like we're so short stacked. We're not hitting any of these boards, huh? But now we can just overbet here. Just overbet all of them. Okay, you can take it down.
Right?
I don't know if it's correct, by the way.
Yeah.
Like so, but we can mark for analysis like later. We can see the hands later, so I'll show you that in a second. He raises 3x, and it's like basically we're committing all in. So I think we just fold here. If we do decide to call that, Jack 8. I don't think it's good enough, but maybe. I wonder if, like, this is like kind of a tournament style, so we can like complete a lot, and then he decides to raise. Let's try this. Why not? It's kind of want to look into the analysis piece. If he ends up calling, we lose, it's fine. And if he folds, well, why not? He's gonna fold. Why are we getting these eight deuce hands, guys? What's going on here? Oh, we're close now. We're back up.
Yeah. So for the GTO Wizard, are you on the premium version?
I'm on the starter version, so I get most of what I need, but there are some spots that I do not get. So, and some features I don't get.
Okay.
Or actually, no, not on a range bet, because then we want to pretty much get it all in on the
Yeah.
river, turn, sorry.
Want to build it.
What's happening here? Letting us just beat it. What do you guys want to do? Give you guys back the option. Let's see, it's his action right now. We're at 25, 50 and 3 hands. Min clicks it.
Muck.
Muck? Okay, we call. You have a 3 here. Okay, do we check, bet, lead? What do we do?
Check.
Okay, we check.
Check raise.
Check raise, okay.
You've got a good kicker though.
Yes, we do. Check raise here. We want to go all in or check raise for a large size like this? Or not large, it's just relatively speaking.
See what he'll do. So you study on the GTO wizard a lot?
Not as much as I should.
Yeah.
So he calls, but he's not snap point, so he doesn't have an ace. He might have a 10. Okay, wow! That's crazy. This guy's.
That was really smart or really stupid, hard to tell.
I don't know. Okay, let's just kind of get it all in.
Yeah.
See what Yeah. Yeah, click the player for emoji. He has 3s. Oh, he has a set. Well, that's GG right there. Okay, perfect. GG's. Okay, so analyze your hands. So here we can look at what we did wrong and what we did right. Obviously, we made a lot of intentional mistakes, so this doesn't really matter. This is for learning purposes. So what did it say? 10-20, hold them, heads up, sit and go, okay. Study this spot. You can study this spot. The big blind he raises. In small blind, we want to be calling with all of these hands, and we want to be raising with these hands, all in 25. Yeah, I guess we only play with 25 bigs, right? So I want to be raising with all these hands. But if you notice, like the ace X suited hands, we are just calling because they're. What I learned from some of the coaches last year at VCamp is that these hands are strong enough to call because you could realize you have more combinations that you can make, so it's better to play as a call oftentimes. And usually the offsuit variants of similar hands, you want to play as like a, let's say, in this case they're saying all in, but like sometimes if you're deep enough stacked, you might play it as a 3-bet fold. Or if you decide, if there's a 3-bet and you know they're doing it a little bit light, you might play it as a 4-bet fold, something like this. Those are the offsuit. Because like if you had like ace queen off or something like that, and then you decide to 4-bet someone 5-bet jams, you pretty much know you're beat like almost 100% of the time. But when you have ace queen suited, then you still could make the nut flush and all these other hands. So yeah. I wonder if we can go back to those hands. Oh, there's a Discord here too. Oh, cool. Okay, wait, analyze. Let's go back to analyze here. Okay, yeah, so here the heads of sin goes. Where did we lose the most? Okay, we lost the most BBs here. I think these are the spots where they could be bad beats, they could be spots where like there are huge blunders. And I think generally, if you want to study hands, you should probably look at the parts where you lose the most money, lose the most BBs. So I guess we go here. No GTO solution for this line in our library. Okay. So pre-flop, we rate, wait, is this the head of Sinzo? Raise, this, showdown, jack. Oh, this was another hand that I played from, on the 16th actually, just to like test this. Yeah, so this was a mistake. Let's see if we could replay the hand here. Oh, sweet. Okay. So we raised, which is plus EV here. Okay, it's plus 66 EV. And then when we, the big blind calls on this board, they decide to lead out. Okay, they decide to lead out. And a call, they're not sure if you should be calling this oftentimes. Call, it's saying to call here like 92.6% of the time. It's not sure of EV, but it says to call, so we end up calling. So that's
because the bet is so small. Is that why they're saying a call?
Well, you're in position. I think there's some backdoor like queen flush draws on the before the turn comes up, right? You could still make. You have a queen, so you still could make top pair on the turn of the river. So there might be some of those reasons. You're still in position, right? And there's still like blinds behind, so it's not too bad to call, I think. Anyway, then in this spot, they decide to bet 3/4 of the pot now. And what do? We end up calling. It still says to call, and it's 5 EV to call, interestingly. I think most recreational players, when faced against this type of aggression, especially with a lead out, they're not sure what to do, then they will fold on the turn, oftentimes. But in this case, like, I decided, to be fair, like, I wasn't actually sure what to do. Like, I knew that jack, like a king is a pretty good turn for me because I have an open ender, you know, stuff like this, and I can, if he decides to check with a club completing on the river, like, I could jam it as a bluff. Even if I don't make anything and I still have queen high, but for the most part, I wasn't, other than a call, I wasn't sure what to do on the river. And then a 10, so I made like a pair. And what does this guy do? He goes all in for 12.25. He's basically saying he has like a jack, missed flush draws, and I don't know. Unlikely he has a king or a 10 here. Maybe he only has ace high. Maybe he might have a 4, a weird 4 that he could have continued with. So I ended up making the call, and then I lose big blinds. It doesn't exactly tell me if the call, like, it just shows that I lost money. But I think we would have to look at the line a little bit more to know if it was plus EV or not. King turn. We call. And then, what was the river? 10 of spades. Oh no. Oh no. So this is the issue, by the way. I have a starter pack, and so you need premium to continue for a lot of heads up positions, right? So this is where you hit some of the limitations with the starter. Here we go to MTT, then I'm sure the whole scenario would change as well. So that's what you want to consider, like either getting a starter for your purposes. Also, the other packages you have, you can get it for mainly MTT, or you can get it for mainly cash games as well. And that's where they're gonna give you kind of like sort of like credits in a way, only for cash, and they might give you like 5 free for MTTs and something like this. If you buy the MTT version, you get it all for MTT, but like only like 5 credits for cash, and only pay like 5 different spots for cash, something like this.
So there's cash game version, like
It's different solutions.
Different solutions, yes, because they play differently, right? Cash and tournaments just play differently. Okay, yeah, so I mean, like, that is pretty much all I gotta show you for today for the stuff like I'm more familiar with. And like, I know some players, what they do is they just train a lot here on this practice trainer, play out some solutions. Once they feel comfortable, they'll play some tournaments and whatever. And then some other people, they just go to the study and they basically just like live here and they would play some tournaments, and then when they're on their breaks or whatever, then they would study certain spots. By the way, if you play online tournaments, it is completely illegal to run this while you're playing the tournament. There was a whole issue like a year and a half back, I think, where like at the WSOP they were kind of like running spots on the side, like heads up, the final table of the main event and stuff. Yeah.
And then how they can find out if you are doing that on other device?
So this is where it gets a little dicey, right? It's they can't really, but I don't know if you want to test that because
No, just a question.
Yeah. It's dicey. Some people do actually do it. I don't know who. I don't do it myself, but I'm just letting you guys know. Some people do it, and apparently they don't get caught. Some do. I don't know. But you're not allowed to. And if you do get caught cheating in any of this fashion, or you give advice to somebody who's playing in a really big spot, a final table, and then you give them some advice and they're at a final table or something like that, you're gonna get banned from a lot of these major WSOP or WPT events and stuff like that. So I think just a general rule of thumb is just to avoid all of these things altogether, right? If you want to study a spot, my recommendation is to just purely not like be on a break, talk about hands, or like be like not playing a tournament or something like that, and then just take your own, spend your own leisure time to study the spots. That's it. Cool.
Thank you.
Did you hear what happened to Ren Lin about that? Is that how that came up?
Yeah, that
So
was
like
another issue, right? Yeah, that guy, he was playing another tournament, his buddy was in a huge spot, right?
Yeah. Daily, they coach them online.
Yeah, exactly.
So banned from.
And how much does it cost?
This one is on a $40 plan, so we can look at them real quick. Oh, that's the wrong thing.
It's like $50 a month, I think, US or
It depends on which one, right? It depends on which one.
I'm not sure about the starter. I mean, the annual one, the starter annual is 30, yeah, it's $50.
Yeah, 40, that's what I was talking about.
And the premium is?
80.
Premium is 80. Okay, so if you're paying per month, then it's 89 USD a month. And then if you're doing annual, you do a one-time payment, this amount, and you get it for 12 months, and per month it divides up to 69 USD.
USD.
Yeah, and then elite, you just get everything, and then so it could go up to 1,000, whatever dollars. So it's up to you on what you want.
Have you done any kind of a comparison around, because there's a number of different solvers now, right? There's like this, there's Lucid, there's a few of them that are out there, and I know that like this is the de facto standard,
It's the current
Yeah.
industry leading one, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, GTO Wizard versus the competitor solutions. Solvers, sorry. Solvers. Let's see what people say. Web-based, okay, making it faster and more user-friendly for... I know some people look at GTO Wizard and they say it's a little bit complex to use. There are some other ones that are far more simplified, but at the same time, from my experience, it seems GTO Wizard is probably the most. Once you get used to like understanding how to set the settings, it is probably the best one to use. Just because you can pretty much study in a lot of spots. There will be a bunch of libraries that other people have created of different spots. You can study those as well. And then they clearly have some really cool tools, like the training drill one that seems pretty finished. And then they also have a play, which you can actually like rank against people, right? So I feel like those are some pretty cool features. I know other solvers are just pure solvers. They don't have a lot of those features. So GTO Wizard is definitely doing something different, right? So I'm not too sure on like all the different. I haven't tried all the different ones. So I'm probably not the best person to ask for this, but yeah, I would say do your research, see which ones you like. What I know is most pros are using GTO Wizard. Yeah, and then the ones we've played with, and studied with, they mainly use GTO Wizard. So cool. Any question, guys? That's it for today. Nothing too crazy. I'm not like a GTO pro or anything like that, but just wanted to show you guys how to use it.
How do you think your game has increased from subscribing and learning and playing The Sims and?
So, let's just say the players that I've played with at VClub over the years, in the last like 2 years or so, all of them have a good idea of how to play against each other. But every time I sit on the table, they're wondering, they're always trying to figure out how to play against me.
Right.
But then they're not able to figure it out. And it's probably because like I have a pretty good understanding of what my range should be, what their range is, and they're playing kind of within those guardrails. And then I am completely maximally exploiting. So I am like in some spots I will find a far looser call. Even though the GTO Wizard might say to fold, because I know that like these guys are, like 3-betting way too wide, right, to try to exploit me or whatever. I'll call, and then I will choose line of actions that, like that. If I had that range of hands, I should be playing in that particular way. So I might mimic that, for example, and then just like outplay. So that's how like I won the Thanksgiving one actually, because I just knew the player I was playing against, and he knew me as well, so he knew I was gonna call like and probably not have an ace in that spot, and I ended up having the best aces, right? So it was just a really that's probably how I would say it has helped me. I don't use it nearly enough, I will also say. The best is certainly practice. Like online is very helpful. Play as many tournaments or as many cash games as possible, and just learn to fold more. Learn to, or like I actually like to call more, to learn not just pre-flop spots, but also how to navigate post-flop a lot more. That's why I feel pretty confident with like my post-flop. And then after I, donated a lot of money learning more post-flop turns and rivers in these different configurations, once I started learning more of like better pre-flop and range construction, that is what helped automatically elevated me to get into better spots post-flop.
I guess that sometimes like when you get card dead, you kind of think your line, right? Like, oh, you call in a spot where you think that they will think that you should have this kind of range.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is also what allows me to kind of win big blinds when I'm card dead as well. Because then now, like, I know I've folded the last, I don't know, like 20 hands, and my VPIP looks like 10% to people. And then I might have a kind of decent enough hand to maybe play, but not actually raise, but I might opt for a raise in a very, like in under the gun or something like that, and they have to suddenly respect it, right?
Yeah.
So it has helped. So it's like it's like implied odds. It's also reverse engineering your range based on kind of the situation you're in.
When you make a play like that, are you waiting for them to check to kind of show weakness so that you have an opening to?
It depends on the spot. I'm saying more so along the lines of like, if you're noticing you have like 9 deuce off, like 8-3 off, 7 deuce, one funny hand just for memes is like Jack 4 off. I kind of like sometimes opt to play just because like it's like funny between me and Sherry or something like that. But then like I notice like I'm very constantly aware of like what my VPIP is at that particular session or at that table. It might be like 10, and I might be under the gun with that hand, and I might just opt to raise that hand, right? And again, I don't know what I'm gonna do necessarily based on the action pre-flop or post-flop or anything like that. But what I'm saying is like, if you didn't know I was like, card dead, you don't know what I was card dead with, and you don't know what I'm suddenly raising with either. I literally could have aces there, I literally could have Jack 4 offsuit there, right? But then to you, it just looks like because I folded so many hands that suddenly I probably have a very strong hand. and therefore, as a villain, as an opponent, you have to respect it, right? So this is where it can probably help you in your game. That's why when people say, oh, I'm so card dead, whatever, that's how I know that that player is relying too much on premium hands only, right? That's one of the tells, actually. And that's why I don't really complain about like card dead or anything like that. Sometimes it's true, you are really card dead, and you can see other people just running very, very hot, they're playing every hand, they're hitting every hand, so it's a little harder to navigate those spots. But if you notice that it's like pretty, like frequencies are pretty like, kind of like close to GTO type of thing, in the sense that like people are not getting too out of line, they're raising at a decent frequency, 20%, 25%, something like this, and it's kind of back and forth, the chips are moving between all different types of players, no one's sun running, no one's anything like this. That is when you can probably, even if you're card dead, opt to raise or find an interesting free bet in certain spots, right? And I think that's where you start to really think, how do you exploit maximally? And again, last piece, and I'm gonna reiterate this quite a lot, which is you don't actually know how to exploit until one, you know your players that you're playing against, or you know your ranges. You have to know these things, or you don't know where you're exploiting from. You don't have a point of reference, right? If you're playing against players that you have never played against before, okay, how do you exploit them? Well, you have to first collect information, right? So you have to observe how they play. So again, this is also really important, which is you do not want to be on your phone when you're on the table. And just because you're not playing doesn't mean you're not playing. Part of playing is to make sure you're paying attention to what other people are doing. Cool?
You think, can I ask one more?
Sure. Yes, please.
Like the pros, when they're playing a hand or when they choose to pick a hand, are they running through all these different scenarios that can happen in the hand and all the different streets that will happen? Are they pre-planning that?
Some of them who may have the mental bandwidth might. I don't know anyone that really has enough brain power to do that, especially for a tournament, especially for like, let's say a main event, multiple day tournament, especially for for a series with multiple different types of tournaments and stuff. It's a lot to manage in your head. They do also get better when the more reps they do this. But one thing they talk a lot about is they simplify a lot so that it makes it easier for them to navigate this. And in order to do that, you have to, again, understand the spot. So if a spot says you should be folding kind of like 90% of the time or whatever, you just simplify it and you just fold 100% of the time, right? I think what they do consider is a little bit of the exploitation I was like talking about with you earlier, which is if you notice that everybody's VPIP, like I've been folding like let's say 10%, like 90%, and my VPIP has been like 10%, and everybody notices that. Everyone's playing against each other, like 20, 25% VPIP, something like this. They will be considerate of that, and they will find the right frequency to balance their range. And that's what I mean when like I say, sometimes you have to find those spots where you just feel like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna raise in this spot. Oh, you've noticed, okay, this person's getting slightly out of line, raising opening a little bit too much. All of a sudden, right? Like let's say they were like suddenly winning a ton of chips, and suddenly they're just like raising a pip or two, just a little bit more than usual. The dynamic just suddenly changed. You might want to consider a 3-bet fold with a hand like Queen Jack offsuit in position, right? Something like this. And that's where they consider their frequency, because the frequency in which they do things at that point, especially when they're limiting so much information in what they tell other opponents, they're not going to showdown as much and all these other things. They are cognizant enough to like play based on frequency, because they know other players are a bit more considerate of those things. That's how you would balance your range. Yeah. Okay, that's it for now. So thanks guys. Good luck on the tournament.
Thank you.